Here's the ball. Good job.
Through the eyes of a toddler, sports offer an opportunity to develop confidence, a belief that if you practice, you'll accomplish your goals.
Good job.
Greg and Rachel Thompson saw it firsthand as their daughter Briley, now an 8th grader at West Fargo Liberty Middle School, became hooked on playing with a bat and a ball at an early age.
I've always kind of loved softball. I've been playing since preschool.
She was probably 3 or 4 years old and started off helping coach T-ball. And so you had some kids playing in the sand and Briley hitting the ball off the tee.
There you go, Briley, good hit.
From T-ball to becoming a teenager, the Diamond has always felt like a second home. But it wasn't until she turned 11 that Briley made the switch from baseball to fast-pitch softball, which ignited her passion to play.
I think when I started getting more experience pitching, that's when I found that I loved the position, and I found that I was good at it, and that made me love softball a lot.
Good might be an understatement. Coaches noticed from an early age that Briley was something special.
One of her coaches actually came up to me and said, she's gonna go places, like she's a really good pitcher. And that's kind of when the light bulb started to go off for me.
It would be super amazing to play D1 softball. That's been a really big goal of mine. I would just love to play for maybe U of M or one of the bigger schools.
That goal might sound like a grand slam, but not for a person as driven as Briley, whose belief never seems to waver.
We always set up goals around the summer, and last August I made the goal to pitch 60 miles an hour by my birthday in November, and also to play for Cheyenne in March of 2022, and then to play on a Minneapolis team in hopefully 2022.
With the goals locked in, Briley's mom Rachel tried to get the ball rolling.
In late July every year in Minnesota, they have a big final softball tournament, and I was talking to a couple of the people who were putting on the tournament and just asked, like, hey, do you guys ever take athletes from North Dakota to play on your Minnesota travel teams? And they're like, yeah, but actually tryouts are next week because this is the last tournament of the season.
And so we're like, okay, well, we don't know if you're ready for it. You might be, but at least it's worth a try to go and check out the tryouts and see how you compare it to other kids.
I was the last person to go, and they came down to me, they had the radar gun up, and usually I pitched around like 57, 58, and at that tryout I pitched 61 miles an hour, which was absolutely insane for me and just a huge goal that early. It just felt super amazing.
She earned a spot with the Minnesota Elite 14U team. 2 months in, 2 goals checked off. It looked to be another efficient 1-2-3 inning for this ace, but during a fall tournament, life threw a curveball.
I was halfway through the first game and I was out of breath. I was sitting on the bench, which was not normal for me, and I just had some troubles really keeping my stamina up, and I think that's when we realized something was wrong and that I just didn't feel quite right. We were on our way home from a tournament and I felt this bump on my neck, and we kind of researched it a little bit, and we figured I was probably sick with maybe a flu or a cold or something, so it was no big deal, but we were gonna keep an eye on it.
Fortunately, Briley had already had a doctor's appointment scheduled for a couple days later. So while we were at the clinic for that appointment, we just said to the doctor, hey, since we're here, can you take a look at this lump that she has on her neck? And the doctor said, actually, I don't want to even talk about why you came here. I just want to look at her neck. We need to see what's going on here.
Instead of waiting for Briley's next pitch, the Thompsons were waiting on an ultrasound.
She said she didn't like the way it looked. So she said, there's a hematologist at Roger Mayer's Cancer Center that I want you to go see, and it can't wait till Monday. You guys need to be there tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
It was weird being in that waiting room, and it didn't really hit me until we went to the doctor's office and the nurse is getting all my vitals, and she tells me, we're gonna be besties. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. And I kind of look at my mom like, what? I'm never gonna see her again, what's up? And then the doctor came in and he pulled up the scan and he compared it to a scan from Google of a normal chest x-ray, and it didn't look the same. There were a lot of masses on my esophagus and in my neck, and I think that's when it really hit us that like, oh, there's a lot more beyond just this little mass.
At just 13 years old, Briley was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer.
You just hear those words and you're thinking to yourself, not us, right? Not Briley.
Okay, you're tough, right? Who has two thumbs wants to hit the softball bat?
You think about this kind of stuff and what you might do in that situation, but you never think it's gonna happen. You never think it's gonna be you in that room with a doctor telling you you have cancer, and it's definitely not what you'd think. It doesn't really register right away. You hear it, but it doesn't really hit you until you start going through the hardship of it and you see how bad it really is.
Strikeouts and staying up late with friends were quickly replaced with chemo and rest.
One thing that reminded me to keep going was just that even if the treatment feels tougher and the symptoms are worse, that means it's helping. Like, it's fighting the cancer, and in the end it'll be worth it.
Following 3 months of chemo, the family was able to work it out to do radiation at the Mayo Clinic in Arizona. A little sunshine to boost the spirits. But for Briley, the real light at the end of the tunnel was the hope of making that third goal of making the varsity softball team come true.
That was a huge motivation for me to keep going, and I tried to pitch in between chemos, and initially going into it, I wanted to see where I was at, see how much I had lost, and eventually it kind of turned into something to just look forward to and have fun with, and almost a break from just reality right now. And it's just what really kept me going through all this.
On March 3rd, Briley rang the bell to wrap her radiation treatments, a goal she didn't intend on having before last summer. Shortly after returning home, she tried out for varsity and made the Cheyenne fast pitch team as an 8th grader. On opening night, April 28th, there she was in uniform, just 6 months out from her initial diagnosis, preparing for her first junior varsity start.
I was really anxious leading up to it, and I remember being on that mound and I didn't know what it was going to be like.
For both Greg and I, it was just, I think, the reassurance that we needed that everything was going to be okay when we watched her walk out on that field.
Briley's performance backed up that belief. The 8th grade hurler pitched a shutout, allowing only 1 hit and striking out 12 batters in 5 innings.
Rachel and I were in tears as she was out there pitching, and to hear her name over the intercom, and it was great to see her back to what she likes to do.
I knew I'd be able to throw strikes, but I didn't know what my anxiety would be like or how it'd be in an actual game. And I threw that first strikeout, and it was just kind of this reminder of like, you're good, you're done, this is what we're looking forward to, this is like, you did it. And that was really amazing.
5 days after that season opening night, Briley made her varsity pitching debut, entering in the 5th inning to close out a 15-5 win over Fargo North. As for her medical outlook, she'll have another PET scan in early June, and that's when the Thompson family and many others are hoping to hear that Briley is cancer-free.
This has been Midco Sports Magazine, presented by Build Your Base with Beef Sports Nutrition and Training Program.